Assalamu alaikum. Good evening, and may God Almighty have peace be upon all of you. Over past year, we have watched the incredible power that two words have to create a movement. When women stood up and announced "Me Too" to the world, we witnessed incredible acts of bravery and solidarity around the globe. And we learned that no community is immune from sexual abuse and harassment. As an Imam, I know that many of our community spaces are not equipped to handle reports of sexual assault and abuse. We have heard stories from across the nation of major figures, even scholars and imams, who are involved in misconduct that has resulted in mistrust between religious leadership and the community. It has left many people asking the question, why? 30 years ago, when I started working with the group of brothers and sisters in the issue of domestic violence in our community, we faced a lot of resistance. Now, the issue of domestic violence is more openly and healthy discussed in our communities. Still have a long way to go. I believe sexual assault and abuse must be confronted in a similar manner. I would like us to imagine the frustration and the pain of the survivor, especially the children and the families of those children. I know that many who have experienced such trauma fear that you will be shunned by the communities and the people they love and wish to protect. They fear they will be disbelieved and blamed and shamed for the harm and the suffering they experienced. At the great, social and personal cost, many have even suffered in silence to protect the reputation of an institution, of individuals who have heard them. But God Almighty says in Holy Quran, "O you who believe, stand firm for justice. Be witness for God. Though that even if it become against yourself or your parents or kinship, if you are to maintain justice and to stand firm for it, we must have the courage to say this is wrong, this is unjust, and this will not continue in our community. We must strive to build compassionate communities where women, men, children are safe and protected from harm and abuse. And to get there, we need courage and leadership like Nadiah Mohajir. Nadiah Mohajir is being recognized tonight with the Community Builder Award, a recognition that really she deserved for all the hard work she's been doing and challenging this issue of abuse and educating our community in this issue now for years. This work is not easy because people might start questioning you as you do this kind of work, and you're addressing a taboo that the community have not talked about for a while. And those who said we cannot talk about this in the mosque, Nadiah said to them, the mosque is a place of refuge and the sanctuary where this issue should be discussed. And community should feel safe to discuss this kind of issue. For the past 8 years, Nadiah has worked tirelessly to protect and support survivors in the Muslim communities. She has stood in solidarity with women and girls, helping them to get the resources and the support they need to move forward. In this way, Nadiah is building communities which are responsive, aware, and worthy of the trust of the survivor and fellow worshippers.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Imam Magid, for courageously standing with survivors and using your platform to highlight the importance of this issue. For me, this strikes a very personal chord. When I was 9 years old, I was sexually abused by the Imam that my parents had hired to teach me Quran. This abuse happened over 2 years, and in my own home. It was immediately after we finished our Quranic lessons, right after he had performed ablutions for Maghrib prayer. And I've never shared this publicly before tonight. At the time, there were no community resources to handle these issues, or leaders publicly speaking about them. There was no willingness or interest in discussing sexual abuse or molestation. So out of my shame, I told no one. And for decades, I was silent. Nadiah Mohajir is giving a voice to all of those who have suffered this kind of abuse in communities. Through her work, she is breaking new ground and crossing barriers so that women and children, and all of us, can rely upon the communities we love for support and healing. As a survivor, it is with profound gratitude that I introduce her to you tonight. Nadiah first began this work a decade ago, researching and addressing health education needs of American Muslim women and girls while working with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Nadiah and her colleague Aisha Akhtar launched a day-long convening for Muslim mothers and daughters, creating an intergenerational safe space to talk about women's reproductive health and wellness. Seeing overwhelming community demand for this, Nadiah redoubled her efforts, and soon she and Aisha formed HEART, Women and Girls, a new nonprofit dedicated to women's health education and wellness. Nadiah quickly found that participants were using HEART's safe spaces to share their stories of gender-based violence for the very first time. There were so many stories that Nadiah felt called to action. Expanding HEART's programming to educate community leaders, organizations, members to prevent sexual abuse and advocate the needs of survivors. Over the last 8 years, HEART has provided culturally competent health education programming to well over 10,000 Muslim women and girls across this country. They have been at the forefront leading community efforts to create safe, responsive, and non-shaming places of worship and providing critical resources of support for survivors. Nadiah's tireless work has changed countless lives for the better. She gives me hope that others won't have to wait as long as I did to feel a sense of belonging and a support in my community. When our communities are unsafe for women, when they are unsafe for any of us, they are no longer communities. And I believe that Nadiah is building community in the truest sense of the word. She is bringing people together, parents and children, researchers and policymakers, community leaders and congregants, and building a community that is safe for all of us. I'm personally grateful to you, Nadiah, for your tireless commitment to and service to our communities. And I'm honored, along with Imam Magid, Farhan Latif, and Faiza El-Hibri, to present you with the 2018 Community Builders Award.